Hello, I'm Infamous Sphere. What's that? It's time for Infamous Queer!
Pride, 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 darling, darling, pride, pride 95!
Repression. Every LGBT person will one day come to the realisation that they are queer, and when they do, they have to decide how and when they will come out. As a consequence, every LGBT person spends some time in the closet. However, some people never leave it. Maybe they're too scared. Or maybe they just hate the idea of being gay so much that they refuse to accept it and will enter into an unfulfilling shadow of the life they could have had. And there they will stay until someone forcibly prizes them out of their carapace, their pallid, underdeveloped eyes wincing in the rainbow light. But enough about Republican sex scandals. This time we're going to turn to another part of the world that has a historical reputation for both repression and oppression. Maybe South Africa can provide us with some insight into what happens when you are repressed to the point of exploding. This is beauty.
I go weak in the presence of beauty.
Ah yes, beauty. Our main character is Francois, a masculine Afrikaans guy who works at a lumber mill. He lives in a completely loveless marriage with his tired, worn-out looking wife, the flaccid nature of their romance reflected in the monotonous, boring meals they have together. Do they eat any vegetables in South Africa other than overcooked peas?
3 peas?
This lack of passion, however, is not due to his wife's terrible cooking. It's to do with the fact that Francois is gay, albeit very repressed, and has no sexual outlet other than meeting with a group of similar men and then going off into the back room and having sex with Mel Gibson. While at a wedding, Francois notices his friend's son, Christian, who is now grown up, and develops an attraction to the younger man.
Stop calling me uncle. You're a grown man and I'm not your uncle.
He tries to develop his relationship with Christian in a very uneasy and awkward way, including heading down to Cape Town for the sole purposes of trying to get in contact with the younger man. The desperate attempts to connect with Christian eventually have a tragic, disturbing end, when Francois, drunk and angry about the way his life has turned out, overpowers Christian in a hotel room and violently rapes him.
Please stop. Take it off.
The film then ends with him returning to his hometown and trying to dispose of the evidence. Wait a minute. Older man trapped in an unhappy marriage with an unfulfilling life develops an obsession with a young friend of his daughter, culminating in an ugly, confronting act of violence? I've seen this before.
My name is Lester Burnham. This is my neighborhood. This is my street. This is my life. I'm 42 years old. In less than a year, I'll be dead.
Yes, American Beauty. It has more in common with beauty than just the same word being in the title. In case you don't know what this 2000 Best Picture winner is about, I'll give you a brief rundown. Lester is an unfulfilled man in an unhappy, loveless marriage. He develops a crush on his daughter's friend, the bitchy cheerleader Angela. Meanwhile, his daughter is hanging around with the unusual boy next door, Ricky Fitz, who has a hobby of videotaping fucking everything.
What are you doing?
I was filming this dead bird
Why?
because it's beautiful.
Anyway, Lester comes to the conclusion that he needs to make a change in his life, and when he hears that his job is going to make him redundant, he blackmails his boss into giving him a very nice severance package, meaning that he doesn't actually have to work.
Well, what do you say I throw in a little sexual harassment charge to boot?
Against who?
Against you. Can you prove that you didn't offer to save my job if I let you blow me?
Man, you are one twisted fuck.
Nope. I'm just an ordinary guy with nothing to lose.
He then takes a job in a burger joint so he can have the least amount of job responsibility possible and starts lifting weights. His wife, Caroline, on the other hand, is experiencing her own personal crisis owing to her lack of success in her job, and so she starts an affair with her rival, the king of real estate.
You like getting nailed by the king?
Oh yes, I love it! Fuck me, your majesty!
To cut a long story short, Lester realises that his sexual obsession is not such a good idea when he tries to have sex with Angela, who confesses that despite her earlier claims of sexual prowess, she is a virgin. Ricky's father, Colonel Fitz, an angry macho man, forms the impression that his son is gay and getting money by working as a rent boy.
I'd rather you were dead than be a fucking maggot.
You're right. I suck dick for money.
Boy, don't start.
$2,000, I'm that good.
Get out!
You should see me fuck. I'm the best piece of ass in 3 states.
Get out!
Distraught and anguished, Colonel Fitz goes to talk to Lester.
Your wife is with another man and you don't care?
Nope. Our marriage is just for show. A commercial for how normal we are when we're anything but. Goodness, man, you are shaky. We really ought to get you out of these clothes.
Yeah.
Whoa. I'm sorry. You got the wrong idea.
And yet again, the movie ends with an act of violence, perpetrated by a horrifically repressed, closeted homosexual. So yes, the films have a lot in common, from the themes of repressed homosexuality to the frequent, awkward, unappetizing family dinners, but I'm going to talk more about beauty, because it has homosexuality as its main theme, rather than just a single plot point. The film is a slow one, with lots of close-ups, and an almost dreamy quality in some points, a feeling that eventually becomes extremely uncomfortable, when Francois's admiration of Christian's beauty becomes obsession. Any film with this many close-ups requires the actors to have a lot of control over their expressions, so that we can feel what they're feeling and experience what they're thinking. And the actors in Beauty do a very good job. Francois is not the typical portrayal of a gay man. He's not even the typical portrayal of a closeted gay man. He's a frightening character, a man who lacks the sophistication and restraint to go about things the way others would.
What do you think? Stop it, Francois. Sorry.
On some level, the audience can identify with him, but this is a man with so much rage in him that years of repressing himself can only result in something malignant and horrible. As our contrast to Francois, we have Christian, a man who is everything that Francois isn't. He's liberal, accepting of himself and others, and he still has so much youth and possibility before him. Part of Francois's attraction to Christian is not just sexual, but a sort of envy about how comfortable Christian is with himself and his life, and how open and accepting he is towards others. Francois, on the other hand, is racist and homophobic.
I still think he was trying to hit on Chris. Nee, rarig. Hy het verneder gevoel. Toe lê hy die klap.
No, I don't think that's why he did it.
Well, you never know with these morphies. Hulle kom met baie weg deesdae.
And thus can't move beyond his limiting circle, and so he finds himself almost despising Christian for interesting him. The rape is more of an act of hate than an act of desire. Years of self-hatred and hatred towards others, manifesting itself as an act of violence towards someone he desperately wishes he could be. I've seen anger in portrayals of closeted men, but it's usually just a general sense of loathing, which can result in violence, but nothing as brutal as this. Colonel Fitz really is the closest comparison I can come up with, and he isn't a protagonist.
How come these faggots always have to rub it in your face? How can they be so shameless?
We don't experience what he's thinking, or see through his eyes, whereas Beauty forces us to be almost complicit in Francois' horrible decisions. We are never told what happens to Christian after the rape.
Oh, voor die gaan wil ek jou graag iets vra. Praat jy nog met Christian?
So nou en dan, maar nie juist onlangs nie, hoekom?
Nee, ek het net gewonder.
Does he report it? Does Francois pay him off for the giant stack of money he was carrying around? Do Christian's parents find out what happened to him? Now that he's had this horrifying experience, his life will never be as free and easy as it was before. It's a disturbing cliffhanger. For me, this is a treatise on the importance of accepting others, and more importantly, accepting yourself. Repressing your identity, whether it's your race, your cultural identity, or your sexuality, generally doesn't turn out too well for your mental health. I was truly disturbed watching Beauty. It almost felt like a cautionary tale. If you can't live your life in a healthy way, your feelings can only fester and turn you into a bitter, deeply unhappy person. I'm not saying that the average person would ever go as far as Francois, but this sort of thing doesn't tend to end well. Entering into a heterosexual relationship when you know you yourself are homosexual is as much a betrayal of your spouse as it is a betrayal of yourself. Francois' wife must have had a horrible life. Her husband is bitter and uncommunicative and feels no love or desire for her. It's perfectly possible to love someone in a non-sexual way, and many queer people in straight marriages did love their heterosexual spouses. But considering that marriage is supposed to be a romantic and sexual bond, if you don't feel anything beyond a friendly love for your spouse, then it's not really going to work. And it's a cruel thing to do to the other person involved. Can you imagine what it would be like if I got married?
Dinner's ready, honey.
There are people out there who didn't know that they were LGBT when they got heterosexually married, or who thought that it was the best decision possible. But really, in the long run, it's not a good idea, and before you know it, you'll be sitting down to yet another monotonous dinner of overcooked peas, asking yourself whether this is your beautiful house or your beautiful wife, and how, indeed, did you get here? So which film should you watch? Both films are very good, but I'd say that American Beauty is more enjoyable, for want of a better word. It even has a few genuinely funny moments. However, if you want to step out of your comfort zone and see something a bit different, then go and watch Beauty. Unlike American Beauty, Beauty doesn't spell out a moral for you.
Janie, today I quit my job. And then I told my boss to go fuck himself, and then I blackmailed him for almost $60,000. Pass the asparagus.
Your father seems to think this kind of behavior is something to be proud of.
And your mother seems to prefer that I go through life like a fucking prisoner while she keeps my dick in a mason jar under the sink.
Oh, well, all right. Let's just all sell our souls and work for Satan because it's more convenient that way.
I think using illegal psychotropic substances is a very positive example to set for our daughter.
You're one to talk, you bloodless, money-grubbing freak.
Well, I'm sorry, Dad. I won't live in your microwave oven world any longer. You people have carpet on your hearts.
In American Beauty, Lester will constantly say what he thinks is wrong with modern society and the life he's supposed to have. Whereas in Beauty, that sort of thing isn't put into words. We don't need to be told. We can see it. And unlike American Beauty, this movie isn't well known enough to have any sort of hype backlash. And now, to answer the final question on my mind. Are all films with beauty in the title about older married men creeping on young people? Huh, I guess so.
Black Beauty.
Wait a minute. Reuben gets absolutely drunk and then forcibly mounts Beauty and rides him so hard that Reuben dies and Beauty falls to the ground and breaks both of his knees? I knew it! So that was Beauty and American Beauty. And now, if you'll excuse me, I've got to go. It's been almost an hour since I've last yelled at my husband.
We have such a wonderful life together.